Hello, everyone. Welcome to the lineup. I'm Rick Goff, joined today by the 12U Canes NTX coach, North Texas, Jeremy Bingham. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
So, you are now part of the Canes North Texas program. Explain to the audience, what does that cover?
So we're in the part of the Canes, nation umbrella, which is everywhere in the country. Specifically, our group works under the Southwest umbrella, which covers Texas, Oklahoma, a little bit more territory, and then inside of that, it's broken up a little bit more specifically to kind of keep us all on the same page. And so our NTX group basically covers everything from like Waco north to the border of Texas, and then out to East Texas as well. And for me specifically in our group, we're like the northeast corner of the Dallas area and surrounding areas.
How long have you guys been in existence there in the North Texas area, and who heads up the program?
Yeah, so the Canes group here itself in the area has been 4 or 5 years, and that's Mike Hamilton is kind of the big boss in the area, and he's got also Connor Berry with our Decatur group alongside him.
Where do you guys have to go to play? I'm assuming you guys might have to travel a little bit to find competition.
Yeah, we're starting to get there. Our group, because the teams underneath me have been going for 3 or 4 seasons now, we really wanted to focus on building really strong younger teams with consistent coaching that we could take up through the ranks as these kids went from, 8U, 9U, 10U, all the way through high school. And so our oldest team now that we have under me is 13U. Our other NTX branches, they have a little bit older teams, but so yeah, our older teams are now getting to a point where we've got to travel. The Dallas area, we're blessed, thankfully, with a lot of strong competition, a lot of good national level teams here. But we've got to get to Houston, we've got to get to Louisiana, we've got to get to the East Coast, we've got to do some of those things. More than anything, just to get our players access to top level competition and good facilities, with there being in every metropolitan area 6, 8, maybe 10 top level teams. You by the end of the season, you've played each other 4 or 5 times, and you want a new challenge. And I think if you've had a successful season, you want to see where you stack up nationally, and where your guys are at in their development cycle. And so it makes sense for groups such as ours to get out on the road a few times a year and really go test ourselves against the best who are out there.
When do you guys set up you talk about being on the road, when do you guys set up your road schedule? I'm sure there's some tournaments out there that you've probably targeted probably since the end of last season. So talk a little bit about that, about, what was your base schedule look like and how do you fill that in?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us and our teams that are going to play what we consider a national level schedule, which is where you are on the road at least 3 or 4 times, those are established teams. We know that they've been successful the season prior. You're going to have a majority or all of the roster back. And so in this case, coming into spring of 2024, we were able in November to sit down with our families and kind of put a roadmap together of what we wanted to do, and what it was going to look like. And for anybody who's been in travel ball in this age groups, or just in general, that in your region or nationally, there are always 3, 4, 5, you can't miss events every season. And so the first thing that we do is we sit down and we decide, do we want to go to all of these? If we're going to do a big, destination event at the end of the season, like we are with the TBS Nationals this year, then maybe some of the mid-range travel that we're going to do, maybe we're going to dial that back just a little bit and try to play a bigger national level local event. And so we do everything with cost in mind with some of our teams at 12U, 13U. And as these groups get into 14U, we understand that parents don't have an unlimited budget. And so we want to create a schedule that is going to challenge the players, is fun, allows them to get to some good locations, while understanding that, not everybody can be out of town every weekend. They don't have the paid time off and things like that to accomplish it.
Well, you guys talk about, planning out the schedule, and you guys chose to do the TBS Nationals out in Myrtle Beach. For those people that have not been to Myrtle Beach, what what kind of tipped the scales that way to go to that one as opposed to some other ones that were on your list?
Yeah, for us, I think there was three or four things. And this was one that we really weighed very carefully before we came to play with y'all because 12U, at least in this area, is traditionally like the Cooperstown year for a lot of the boys, and they like to get north and go have that experience. And so with our families, we wanted to go play top level competition, and know that we were going to get into an event where we were going to see some big time national level teams. We wanted to get to a location where families, if they wanted to get into town 3 days earlier or stay 3 days after the event, that they were going to be somewhere, they'd already paid airfare, that they were going to get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
We want to know that the facilities are good. You don't want to spend thousands of dollars and fly the whole family out for a week and find out you're playing in a cow pasture. And so we know that the facilities there are top notch. And then a lot of it is cost. It is a affordable tournament with top level competition as opposed to I guess paying a premium just for the name of the event, like maybe some of these other tournaments are out there doing.
Yeah, I mean, we find that what you described is why a lot of people choose to come out here to Myrtle Beach, and we're very appreciative. I mean, let's face it, it's in the name, right? Myrtle Beach. You're at the beach.
Mhm.
There's worse places. Some of these events, you don't have access to a lot of things or a lot of things to do, and you could spend, like you said, an extra few days before or after the tournament and still not see everything there is to do in Myrtle Beach. So it's a good destination. We're happy being there. We're glad that you guys are coming. Um, how long have you been with this age group?
So I've always taken teams from their inception point and taken them up and stayed with them. For me personally, my approach is I don't want to just bring a group together for a season with the objective of trying to go, get nationally ranked or whatever comes along with it. And so with the group that's coming out there, I have had these kids since 9U fall. So I think we're 3.5 years at this point in time.
Have you noticed a big difference between this year, getting ready to start your 12-year-old season, and how you ended last year? Do you notice how the kids are bigger, stronger, faster, just in that short amount of time off season?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with my team, in particular in our area, I mean, I'm blessed with maybe one of the more physically imposing groups in our age range, and we've had a lot of kids in just the 3 or 4 months go from 5'1" or 5'2" up to 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
They've put on 20 pounds. One thing that we do and all our Canes NTX teams do is we partner with a weight training and fitness group that is with these kids basically year round, teaching them nutrition, lifting, stretching, all the things that go into it as these young men start to enter puberty and middle school and are exposed to a weight room for the first time. We make sure that they're healthy. They have good habits, good techniques. They're getting good information. And so for our group, which was already, big kids, it's been astronomical the level of growth and physicality we've seen in just the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I know. When I was coaching, and I coached high level travel baseball for, I don't know, almost 15 years. And I've coached at some level between kid pitch, coach pitch, T-ball, all the way up to high school baseball. So I've seen that whole age realm. And for me, the biggest surprise was between the 11 and 12-year-old season. And you kind of hit the nail on the head with puberty, right? That's a big factor. And we always, when our season ended, we didn't pick back up until probably right after the first of the year. Now, again, this was 20 years ago when my son was doing it. Things have changed now. People start right back up right away in the fall. But back then, I believed in letting the other kids play other sports. So we didn't start up until January. So our last game was probably in July. And then we walked back into the facility, January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever it was then. And I can remember it always, that 11 to 12-year-old age group just made me step back and go, whoa, what in the world happened? Like you said, 5, 6 inches of growth and 20, 25 pounds of weight added on. And some of them even started getting a little
Mhm.
fuzz around the lip area. And it was just, that was always shocking to me to see that big transformation. And sometimes it was kids that you didn't expect, right? The 4'6" kid that weighed
Yeah.
70 pounds. Now he's back and he's 5'1" and he weighs 120. So yeah, it's a big difference and a big deal for sure.
Mhm.
So you talked about one of your choices, or you were looking at uh, Cooperstown
Mhm.
when they were at 12. Do you find that Cooperstown is kind of losing that luster that it had, say, 20 years ago? It doesn't seem to be, in talking to teams, and I talk to a lot of teams every year, doesn't seem to be the ultimate destination that it was, say, 20 years ago. Are you kind of hearing the same thing?
Um, yeah, a little bit. I think that it's a unique one-off experience, and there's a lot of value in that. And I think that a lot of the families that are in, the travel ball lifestyle are they're dyed-in-the-wool baseball families, and so the idea of getting up there is kind of a bucket list thing for a lot of people. But I know when we sat down and discussed it, just the simple financials of it, we looked at it and said, that's a season's worth of budget for one event.
Yeah,
And for some, I think the idea, some of the amenities and the staying on site, and it's like summer camp with a baseball tournament there. I think for some families, I think that that's perfect, and that's what they want. We're at a point where we feel we're competitive. Our kids want to go out and play, and they want to do those things, and so we want to go play in the best baseball tournament. And then when these kids want to take off to summer camp, or if they want to go to Cooperstown as a family or something, that option is still available to them. But I don't feel like we've forced that upon them. And I know, there are a couple of Dallas area teams that are taking off to go up there, and they're groups that have been, fundraising in the fall, fundraising in the winter, fundraising all spring. They're looking for sponsors and Super Bowl squares and raffles and this, that, and the other. Um, and I think that it's just it's a lot. It's a lot for families. You've got to fly up there. It's not an easy flight. And I think
it's
that
not cheap.
now yeah, people just look at the logistics of it and go like, man, that's a lot to get up there and to play a baseball tournament. And I guess, no disrespect to anybody's out there, but like anybody can sign up for that tournament. And so you can pay all this money and you can go, and you may end up playing teams that are not on your level. And, you pound everybody and you come home. And I think for the amount of money that gets spent, I don't know that for some of the top level teams, that's really what they're looking for.
Yeah, talking to a lot of the top level teams, Cooperstown's not even really on their radar any
Right.
longer. Just because of the simple fact, like you said, you go up there and you end up playing 6 pool games and none of them are competitive. You end up playing
Mhm.
3 innings every game. And so you end up playing 6 games, a total of 18 innings, which really translates to 3 games, right? That's
Mhm.
3 games worth. And you're paying all this money to go up there. It's kind of ran its course. Now, I know some of the higher level teams will say, you know, after the season's over in July or even into August, if one of my players wants to pick up with the team going up there, I encourage them to do so. But as a whole, the teams just aren't going up there because it's just not worth it. It's an expensive trip. The competition's not very good anymore. And beating someone 15-0, you can do that right down the road, right? I mean, you don't have to travel, 3,000 miles in order to do that and cost you 20 grand. So Yeah, it's an interesting take on when I talk to these coaches that anymore. Now, 20 years ago, it was on everybody's radar. That's what it
Sure.
was. But today, it's just if you're a high level team, and even if you still choose to go, I always get on the website and I kind of follow it because you can follow the scores. The games are 34-1, 22-3,
Yeah.
17-0. And I'm thinking to myself, uh, they're probably regretting that decision of spending all that money to go up there now.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, if you look at the younger ages, your 8U, 9U, 10U, and in some cases 11U, like the Gulf Shores and Panama City Beach events. I mean, those are a popular destination to wrap up the season. But you're at the beach, you get a nice family vacation out of it. But it's the same thing. You'll see majors teams who are nationally ranked playing against AA teams from the
Yeah.
neighborhood. The difference is though, is if you start to look at some of those events at 13U, 14U and stuff like that, like they're not making or they're not getting a lot of teams in because the teams that are serious, they figured out that that is it's a for fun World Series that you go to
Yep.
kind of celebrate the end of the season. And so that's the thing for me with the Cooperstown event and even some of the others that are out there that are kind of age specific things is maybe if they occurred a year or two earlier, it would make a little bit more sense. But when you get to the 12U, 13U, 14U, serious teams have done this for a handful of years. Parents are getting smarter and more informed about what's going on out there. And that's a pretty big ask financially to go up there and maybe not play competition that's on your level.
Yeah, I think you made a great point there, Jeremy. And I don't know if you knew this or if people even realize this, but years ago, they used to have 1 week for 10-year-olds out at
Mm-hmm.
Cooperstown. 1 week. My son played in it when he was 10. And then, it became a money issue. They can get, and I don't know the numbers right off the hand, but they could get 106 teams in there a week. Well, for 10-year-olds, they were only getting probably 85, maybe. And the powers to be at Cooperstown says, well, wait a minute, why are we letting 10-year-olds come in here for 1 week at 85 when we could take them out and give it another week to 12-year-olds and sell out at 106? It's all about money, right? Everything is driven by
Yeah,
money. But the fences at being at 200 feet, it's just outdated in today's
yeah,
world for 12-year-olds. It's outdated. Even the low level 12-year-olds, I feel that's an outdated distance. So,
yeah, absolutely.
um, I think, Cooperstown needs to make some changes, but, I'm not their operating manager or anything else. That's just an opinion of one man. If you want to keep it up, I think you need to make some changes and either go to 10-year-old. Maybe that's the key, right? Maybe they switch it to 10-year-olds instead of
Yeah.
12s, because 12s is just. I talked to teams that went. It's just not fun. They just don't enjoy themselves anymore. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
anyway, we got down a rabbit hole on there. I didn't mean to get sidetracked there a little bit. So, um, talk about the future of what you want to do with this team that you're with now. How high do you want to take them? What's the goal for this 12-year-old team looking down the road?
Yeah, so I mean, my philosophy, and I think organizationally with the Canes here in North Texas and nationally, we're a high school and college development program. I mean, at the end of the day, I tell all my parents from, when I've had some of these kids at 7, 8, 9 years old, is our job is to get them ready to play high school baseball. And so what I really want to do is take them up for at least the next couple of years, get them through the 14U age group. And at that point in time, opportunities change when you get to 15U, and I think some will probably veer off and move to a national circuit, playing for a national team or regional team specifically. But my objective is to keep the group together. We have some talented young men. They're physical, they're intelligent, they have good fundamentals behind them. They're fun to watch and they love the game. And I think that the longer we can keep them together, the better it'll be for everybody. It's a tight knit group and get them ready to go compete in high school and hopefully have the opportunity to contribute on varsity as freshmen and sophomores.
What ages do you guys offer over there?
So our group right now, we're running 7U through 13U. And again, like I mentioned, I've run our area of Dallas for 3 or 4 seasons now. And so they'll continue to move up, and we expect to replace the 7U team every year with a new crop that comes through. And then as our 13U ages up, I mean, we should take them all the way up through, graduation and their last season of summer baseball.
Well, interesting. That's some great information, Jeremy. Listen, I want to thank you for joining us today on the lineup. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing all that stuff with us. And I want to wish you the best of luck this season, and we look forward to seeing you in Myrtle Beach in June.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. We'll look forward to being there, and thank you again for the opportunity.
All right, we'll see you.
Yep.